Welcome back to my use of Codex. So yesterday we got to a very, very small bit of movement with it, where it made some changes to my debug file as well as the example in the README. And I think that's fine. Basically, it did this first stage of phase one, which is okay. And it's interesting because something like Cursor and Gemini would have just kept going and done a lot more. So I think I was relatively surprised by the fact that it didn't just go crazy and just did what it said. So that's good. There are a couple of things about this, though. First of all, I would much prefer to do all of the back-end work in one go and then the front-end work. Otherwise, we can leave ourselves in a bit of a weird state. And then secondly, I'm really interested to see what happens whenever it interacts with the existing pull request in this environment. Like, is it going to create a new branch? Is it going to use the existing branch? Is it going to put these changes into that existing pull request? Let's see what it does. But first of all, we're going to get it to change around the plan because I want to see how it reacts to that as a first step. So let's write some code. Okay, I think that's a really good start. However, reflecting on the way that we've laid out the phases, I'd actually like to change things up a little bit. I'd like to focus phase one just on the back end and then phase two just on the front end. Whereas right now you have the setting up of log level controls in phase one and then changing the log usage in phase two. So can we make a change to the plan to reflect what I've just said? And then let's begin the review of the back end. So I'm going to do it in ask mode to see what it does. It's got a view log thing here, so let's see what that looks like as well. Okay, so this is letting us see exactly what it's doing in the shell, which we were seeing before, but it's nice to have it broken out on the right-hand side here. Interesting that it has turned off the internet now that the container is being set up. So that's an interesting thing to see. So it seems to be doing a lot of learning that it already did previously all over again. And I noticed this before, that it seems to spin up a new environment every single time. Okay, so it has come back with some updates. It says, here's the plan. Phase one's back-end logging. I think we've done part one. And then audit the code. And then phase two is the front-end logging. So the back-end review. Okay, so that seems like a reasonable output. So let's have it make some changes. Okay, this seems reasonable. Let's start making the changes that you're recommending. Do you want to come up with a plan to do that, or do you want to just start making them? Let's see what guardrails they have on. Alright, and we're back to starting a container again. So this is absolutely what it did before here. So we're just losing a lot of time to it continually resetting the container. And so that's something to take into account if we want to use this more, is how do we get the right level of task so that it will not have to do this every time, but also so that it can have the right input and context from the user. So because of a slight microphone error, I lost the end of the original video, and so this is just a little catch up on what I found. So interestingly, all of the changes that I'd made from video 1 are still in here, but unfortunately I was forced to open up a new pull request rather than adding to the existing pull request. So this is the existing one, has three files changed, and you'll see this is the branch that it's on, but then it's created a new branch and a new pull request which still has the changes that it made from the previous one, but it just has one commit on this, completely different branch from new pull request. It's not an ideal workflow because I'm still within the context of the conversation that I was having before, and so now if I want to go and do the front end, which for sure would definitely be a different pull request anyway, but it's not the point, or could potentially be a new pull request. If I wanted to go and do the front end, then it'll create a new pull request for that and a new branch for that, and now I've got a branch that's kind of sitting around, and so that's not ideal. And then the second thing is just the workflow is a bit challenging, especially in these early days. I want to operate this in my development environment. I want to test it out and see if it runs and see if it works. And yes, sure, I should have more tests in here. But at the same time, if it was making functional changes to what's going on in the application, then I would want to test to make sure that that's working. And so, sure, it's great that it pushes it to GitHub, but now I've got to go and download that and then bring it into my development environment and run it, etc., etc. So the feedback loop here is going to be quite long. So that's my conclusions and thoughts so far. I will run this locally and see if it is working well.